Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name's Amanda. So I'm so glad you're joining me today for another What's for Dinner video. I've got some great recipes to share with you, plus a bonus dessert of magic cookie bars, one of my favorites. If you haven't already, I'd love it if you would subscribe and join my YouTube family. And let's get into these delicious recipes. So first up we have Fettuccine Alfredo. And I also wanted some sauteed veggies to go along with this. It just adds some texture to the noodles. So I'm doing the veggies first. I've got 2 tablespoons of butter in here, and I want to add maybe about a tablespoon of oil in there. So just enough to, get all the veggies sauteed up. Today I'm using some peppers and onions, but the last time I made it also added mushrooms, and that was delicious too. So you definitely can change this up. Asparagus would probably be good. All kinds of stuff you can do differently. So just whatever veggies you like the best. And these were some peppers I actually already had cut up in the refrigerator, and so that was kind of handy. I'm trying to prep ingredients a little more so that I can have them on hand. Saves me a little time when I go to make dinner too. So now, do any of y'all meal prep any of your ingredients already, or do you usually do it the day of when you're making your dinners? Let me know down in the comments below. I'm kind of curious what everybody does. I never regret it when I do it, but I just don't always do it. So I've got some Italian herb seasoning going in here. You just want to give the veggies a little bit of flavor, especially since they're not going to be added to the sauce. I'm actually going to kind of use these as a topper. And then you could also add salt, pepper, whatever seasonings you'd like. I just did Italian season for this day. Now you're just going to saute these for as long as you would like. Some people like them a little more done. I still like mine to have a little crunch to them, a little texture to them. So I definitely kind of stopped a little short of getting them all good and soft. So definitely do whatever you like to do. So now this is actually my daughter, Caitlin. She is doing the Alfredo noodles type part of the recipe. So this was really fun for me and her to do together. So she's just got some fettuccine noodles going in here. She actually puts garlic in there to cook while it's actually boiling the noodles to kind of help that maybe infuse into the noodles. And then she adds some other spices as well. She's going to also add some garlic powder, and then she's going to also add some pasta sprinkle from Penzeys. So that's what she always likes to add in there to just give the water a little flavor. We don't usually cook our noodles with salt, just because that, especially if I try to watch my sodium, and we can always add it later. Definitely most people do like to salt their pasta water, so definitely do that if you'd like to do that. So I'm not going to have a recipe for how she makes this Alfredo because she does it literally by taste, but I will link one that sounds kind of like it might be similar, and then that way you've got one to go by. So she was grating some Parmesan cheese there. She's got a little bit of pasta water in this skillet, and then she's adding some butter in here, and she's going to start building her sauce. So she just melts that butter, and this was also cooked in the same pan, by the way, as the peppers, so there's still some seasoning left in there. She also adds some garlic, some minced garlic, pasta sprinkle, things like that. And that pasta sprinkle is almost kind of like an Italian seasoning, so you definitely could use Italian seasoning instead. We just really like that one. It just has a really good flavor to it. So she's just whisking that together and adding the Parmesan cheese in. Now the recipe that I'm going to link below calls for heavy whipping cream, but she always uses half and half, and it tastes perfectly fine. And heavy whipping cream is pretty heavy kind of thing, so half and half works beautiful in this, so it's no problem at all. So while she's getting that half and half in there, I'm actually going to talk to you a little bit about how good this sauce is. So I really would recommend you make it. I love Olive Garden's sauce, their Alfredo sauce, and we had tried like a copycat recipe of Olive Garden that called for cream cheese, and this is so much better. It is so good. Like, I tasted it the first time she ever made it, and I was like, oh my gosh, it tastes just like Olive Garden. So it was really nice. Definitely much cheaper than Olive Garden as well. So, but she's just getting all this in there. So you're going to bring it to, she's adding a little more cheese there in there too. She's going to bring it kind of to a little low simmer, and just until it kind of thickens up a little bit, melts all those cheeses together well. And she, again, since she doesn't measure, she's kind of going and looking and seeing how much else she might need and adding whatever else into it that she might like. And she tries to do it as a garlic powder and pasta sprinkle again. So she definitely likes to season it well. Again, this is a situation where, when you make something like this, make it your own, and never hesitate to tweak a recipe a little bit. A lot of times I like to try to make it, if I can, the first time the way it calls for, and then, I kind of make tweaks after that. She's just got some Alfredo, those, fettuccine noodles that she had boiled earlier. She's putting those into this pan, and then you can just see how creamy and just delicious that sauce looks. It is so good. I wouldn't mind having a bowl right now. So I love how she makes this. So anytime that I'm wanting it, I'm kind of like, hey, Caitlin, will you make that for me? And so she really enjoys making it for sure. And I love adding the veggies to it. When she had made it before without veggies, but when I made the veggies the last time we made it, she was like, that was really good too. She enjoyed that too. So we've got the veggies on top and a little bit of shredded Parmesan on top. You could also serve this with chicken. We did meatless for this night, but definitely could serve it with chicken or shrimp. All kinds of things would be good. So next up we have cheeseburgers. So now I had several pounds of ground beef. I think it was about 4 pounds. I patted that all out into hamburger patties, and I just salt and peppered them lightly. And then I'm just going to fry them up in the pan. I don't really do a whole lot with my seasonings of my hamburgers. I'm kind of curious, do y'all do a lot of seasonings with hamburgers, or are you pretty much just salt and pepper? I'd love to hear any thoughts on that. We just kind of stick to basic on the hamburgers. Every now and then, though, we have done like bacon cheddar burgers or something a little different too, especially when we grill them. We've done that before. So I've just got those all going in the pan. It really helps me a lot to have 2 pans going. I used to do this with just 1 pan and it would take forever. So 2 pans, definitely the way to go. It just helps me to have extra on hand for leftovers. We can also reinvent the burgers and use them a different way. So definitely it's a handy thing to have to, in the refrigerator in case anybody wants something to eat, especially since we're home a lot. So it definitely is a time saver to have something already cooked in the refrigerator. You just have to heat up a little. So I just, brown these on both sides. I just make sure they're fully done. And then a lot of times I'll put them in the oven, like on warm, or I'll put them in, just since I'm cooking so many at one time, or I'll put them in like a pan and then cover them with foil to try to keep, like a 9x13 pan or something to keep them warm. So these were amazing. I realized after I filmed this that I forgot to put lettuce on my burger, and I had lettuce cut up in the refrigerator. So I actually just made myself a little salad after this. So this was so good. Next up, we have chicken enchilada soup. And now this is a green enchilada versus a red enchilada. So it's very different than any of the soups I've kind of had along these lines. So now I'm just cutting up some mushrooms. For the most part, if they're big enough, I quartered them. And then if some of them are a little extra big, I cut them into about 6 pieces. So I'm kind of chunking them, not really making like slices or a fine dice or anything like that. But, however you like them, I'll be fine. And honestly, if you're not a mushroom fan, you could definitely leave this out of this recipe too. I feel like this recipe is very flexible to add or subtract whatever you would prefer. So I've got some chicken breasts I actually cooked another night. I just took chicken breasts, rubbed them with olive oil, and covered them in a garlic herb seasoning, and then baked them at 375. I've actually made this soup 2 or 3 times before, and I used raw chicken, and that's what you'll see in my recipe. But honestly, this worked so well, I'll probably just use cooked chicken from here on out anytime I make this. And we really like this. That's why I've already made it 3 or 4 times. So once I get that cut up, I'm actually going to start dicing up a jalapeno. Now, the jalapeno, again, if you don't like spicy, you could leave that out. I don't like a whole lot of spice. I do have to say that this night that I made this actually was a little spicier than usual. I think it was the choice of salsa verde that I use. So you definitely can eliminate the peppers to eliminate spice. Make sure you use a mild, salsa for it. You can definitely make whatever changes you need to make, because this soup, it just has so much flavor. I can't recommend it enough for sure. So I've got some butter and oil going in there. We're just going to saute our onions just until they get kind of translucent. Once they do, we're going to actually add in our mushrooms and let them cook for just a minute or two. You're just going to kind of want them to start cooking because they're going to cook in the soup too. Then you're going to add your minced garlic. You can obviously use fresh here if you'd like to. I just a lot of times use that, the little jarred kind. And now you're going to add your jalapeno. I did not add that entire jalapeno. I did add most of it. So again, just personal preference on that, however much you like to use. I've got a quart of chicken broth going in there, and then I'm adding my diced chicken breast as well. And I didn't use quite all that either. I was trying to kind of eyeball it to see, I didn't want to get it over full of chicken. So, and I've got the salsa verde going in there. And basically, once you get all these spices in there, you're going to just let it come to a boil and simmer for just a little bit. Now I have all those spices in the recipe. I've got, it's a decent sized list of them, but don't be intimidated by that because it's absolutely amazing. So I also added some chickpeas, and after it had cooked for a little bit, I'm adding some corn and some baby spinach. And then you're going to let that cook a little bit longer. I actually realized I forgot my cilantro. You usually add the cilantro at this point too. So you'll see me add that in just a minute. There it goes. And so that's okay if you did. I mean, I did it just right before and stirred it a little bit. And it actually kind of added a little of that greenness, more fresh green to it. So it definitely didn't hurt anything. I cannot tell you how good this soup was. It is so good and it's really healthy. There's lots of good nutritious food in here. Definitely recommend it so much. If you try it, please let me know because we love it so much. So I'd love to know if you do too. Also, feel free to add any toppings you'd like to it, but I like it just the way it is. So next up, we have open-faced turkey sandwiches. So I kind of took a twist of the hot roast beef sandwich and kind of did the same thing with turkey. I wanted to show y'all again in case any of you are new and missed it in a previous video, but this is the way I slice my potatoes to make mashed potatoes. I learned it from Collard Valley Cooks. She slices hers thin like that. They cook much faster than when you chunk them, and they're much easier to mash and you get less lumps. So I cannot recommend that enough. That's why I wanted to show it to you so that you can see it in case you might have missed it in a previous video where I showed it. It is just such a handy tip, and that's how I make mashed potatoes now. I always make sure that I cut them like this. It just makes it so much quicker, saves time, and like I said, easier to mash. So I also use half and half now in my mashed potatoes, and that seems to make them creamier and they even reheat better. I've also got some green beans back here. I just added some butter and some seasonings to those, and once all that's cooked, I'm getting my gravy started. And so in here I've got 1/4 cup of butter. Once that's melted, we're going to add 1/4 cup of flour, and then 2 cups of whatever you want to use for broth, whether that be drippings from a turkey, which is what this was, or whether you just want to use the canned broth or the boxed broth, whatever will work fine. And you do want to cook that flour a little bit, just cook that raw flour taste out. And I swear, I said it last time when I made that gravy. I said it's much easier if you heat that, stock up or whatever you're using. And I still forgot to do that. So definitely that will make it so much quicker for you to make gravy if that liquid's already warm. So keep that in mind if you make gravy. And this will work with canned, stock, broth, whatever. You do not have to have drippings to make gravy. It still can make a very delicious gravy. So I've just got some leftover turkey I had here. I've got 2 pieces of toast and then the mashed potatoes in the middle, and I'm just drizzling that delicious gravy over that. I had the green beans on the side, but this looks so pretty I didn't want to put the green beans on this plate yet. So we added them later. But this was such a delicious meal, a great way to use leftovers. We had fixed another turkey here recently, and I thought that just sounded so good together, so I just wanted to do this night. So we really enjoyed it. Definitely recommend. Quick and easy if you've already got that turkey cooked. So now we're making one of my favorites, which is magic cookie bars. And you might also have heard them as 7-layer bars. Now, these aren't technically 7-layer bars because they don't have the butterscotch chips, but I think the recipe is fairly the same otherwise. So I just used the Eagle brand recipe, which I believe that was 1.5 cups of graham cracker crumbs, and then that's a stick of butter. You just melt that butter and combine those together. This stuff is so easy to make. It really is. It comes together quickly. and they're completely addictive. I mean, like, even my kids love them, well, except for my youngest. He doesn't really eat nuts, but and so my daughter, actually, she likes to have a little section left without as many chocolate chips, because she doesn't like as many chocolate chips too. So they're kind of easy to customize since they're kind of in that bar form. So I'm just spreading these out in a 9x13 baking dish. Now, if you'll use a measuring cup like I've got here, you can kind of mash it better and get it packed in there well, and also build kind of a crust around the edges, and that's very helpful too. So that's just what I've done there. You're going to pour a full can of condensed milk in here, and you do need to just definitely kind of spread that around and make sure it gets evenly. I tilt it a little bit sometimes to kind of let it flow into areas, and then also, a spatula smooth out little areas to make sure it kind of gets evenly distributed. Now, I don't go by the recipe for the toppings. I just go by what looks good to me. So definitely feel free to do that as you like. I've just got some pecans that I've layered on here, and then I'm going to layer some chocolate chips. I think the recipe calls for quite a few chocolate chips. I probably definitely don't end up putting that many on there. I probably put maybe half or less even than they call for. And then I just sprinkle a little bit of coconut on top, and now it's ready to go in the oven. And you're just going to bake it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 20-25 minutes. Just kind of keep an eye on it. Every oven cooks differently, and you definitely don't want them too done. So I would just check them at maybe 20 minutes and see how they're doing. So this is the magic cookie bars. They're all finished. They're so delicious. I can't even, I love them. But I will tell you, as tempting as it is to get into those right now, they do taste better if you let them sit and kind of get, that condensed milk kind of gets all gooey, and it's just different than when they're warm. So definitely highly recommend these. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I'd appreciate it if you'd give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell if you don't want to miss any yummy recipes. And I will see you in the next one.